All right, today we're diving into a story that is honestly mind-blowing. It completely pulls back the curtain on how karma really works. We're talking about a king, a simple shopkeeper, and a secret that's all about the incredible, almost scary power our thoughts have to literally shape the world around us.
So, get this. The story kicks off with this absolutely shocking statement. Imagine a king, right? He's riding through his kingdom on an elephant. Everything's normal. Until he passes this little sandalwood shop. He just stops, turns to his minister, and says, out of the blue, that he wants to hang the owner. I mean, no reason, no warning, just this sudden dark urge to kill the guy.
And you've got to ask, why? Right? What could possibly make a king have such a violent, out-of-nowhere reaction to a total stranger? You can bet his minister was completely thrown for a loop, and honestly, pretty freaked out.
So we're looking at the king's strange wish. But before the minister can even get a word in, the whole royal parade just moves on. It leaves this incredibly weird and frankly dangerous idea just hanging there. The minister knows, deep down, he can't just ignore this. He has to do something.
The minister, being a pretty smart guy, is obviously very concerned. He knows he's got to get to the bottom of this. So what does he do? The very next day, he goes undercover, dresses up like a regular person, and heads straight to that sandalwood shop. He needs to figure out what is going on.
Now we get to the web of negative thoughts. The minister walks in, starts making small talk with the shopkeeper, just casually asking, "Hey, how's business?" And what he finds out? Well, it's the first major piece of this whole crazy puzzle.
It turns out the shopkeeper is in a really bad way. He tells the minister, look, my sandalwood is the best quality. Everyone comes in, they love the smell, they say how amazing it is, but nobody ever buys anything. His business is completely failing. And he's gotten so desperate that he's clinging to this one really dark thought. His only hope, he thinks, is for the king to die. Because a royal funeral, well, that would mean a huge sandalwood order that could save him from ruin.
And right then, it just clicks for the minister. He understands. It's like a light bulb goes off. The shopkeeper's constant, powerful, negative thoughts, wishing for the king's death, day in and day out, weren't just staying in his head. They were creating this invisible wave of negative energy. That wave went out, hit the king as he passed by, and the king, like a mirror, just reflected that same hostile energy right back at its source.
Okay, so now he knows the why, but that's not enough, right? The minister is brilliant. He knows he has to actively break this toxic cycle. So he comes up with a plan, and it's so simple, it's genius, a gift and a solution. Here's the minister's plan, step by step. First, he buys some sandalwood from the shopkeeper, who's obviously thrilled to finally make a sale. Step 2, he takes that sandalwood to the king, but here's the key. He's going to present it as a gift from the shopkeeper. And then step 3, just watch and see what happens.
So he goes to the king and says, a gift from the sandalwood merchant. The king's probably a little confused, but he opens it and this incredible fragrance just fills the room. And just like that, he's totally delighted. All that anger from the day before, gone. Poof! It's replaced by genuine pleasure, and he even feels a little bad about his earlier dark thoughts. So in this happy mood, he immediately sends back a gift of his own, a bag full of gold coins.
Can you imagine the shopkeeper's face when he gets this bag of gold? He is just shocked. His despair completely evaporates and turns into pure joy. Suddenly, he's singing the praises of this wonderful, generous king who just saved him. And then it hits him. He remembers what he'd been wishing for, and he's just flooded with shame and regret. In a single moment, the whole situation is flipped on its head.
So, what really just happened here? This incredible story is the perfect way to understand the real secret of karma. It goes way deeper than just our actions. It's about our thoughts.
So, what even is karma? Well, you can think of it as the sum total of everything we put out there. Our words, our actions, our feelings, all of our activities, it's the whole package. But there's always a starting point, right?
And here's the absolute key takeaway. Our thoughts are the seeds of our karma. Before you say anything, before you do anything, there's a thought. That's the starting point. That little seed is where all the energy we send out into the universe actually begins.
Okay, so let's break this down. What can we actually learn from this story? There's some seriously powerful lessons here that you can apply to your own life, starting right now.
Lesson number 1 is huge. Your thoughts aren't just locked away inside your skull. Think of them like radio waves. They are real energy, real frequencies that you are constantly broadcasting out into the world. And those waves have an effect on everything, and eventually, they bounce right back to you.
And you can see this so clearly in the story's two cycles of thought. First, you have the negative loop. The shopkeeper's bad thoughts created bad vibes for the king, which almost led to a terrible action. It was a vicious cycle. But then the minister steps in and creates a positive loop. A positive gift created a positive feeling in the king, which led to a positive reward for the shopkeeper. See how that works?
And this brings us to lesson 2, which is maybe the most important one. To change your reality, you have to change your thoughts first. The shopkeeper was just sitting there, waiting for his luck to change. But nothing happened until the energy changed, and that started with one positive action that shifted everyone's thinking.
Lesson 3 is all about intention. Think about it. The object, the sandalwood, stayed exactly the same. What changed? The intention, the bauv, or the feeling attached to it. When the thought connected to the sandalwood was death of the king, the result was anger. When the intention was pleasure of the king, the result was gold coins. The intention, it's literally everything.
And that leads us to our final lesson from the story. As long as the shopkeeper was wishing bad things on someone else, he was stuck in his own bad situation. But the second he was part of a positive exchange, his own luck turned around. Wishing well for others, it seems, is one of the best ways to invite good things into your own life.
So if you pull all these lessons together, you end up with one incredibly powerful way to look at the world. It's like a mirror. The core idea is this. The world is like a mirror. What you think is what comes back to you. It doesn't just hand you things. It perfectly reflects back the energy, the thoughts, and the intentions you're sending out.
You know, so often we're just waiting for other people to change or for our situation to get better. But what this story shows us is that the remote control's in our hands. The king wasn't a different person from one day to the next. The energy he was receiving changed, so his reaction changed. The real change always starts inside our own head.
So, that leaves us with one final thought, a question for you to take with you. If the world really is a mirror, take a look around. What is your mirror showing you today?